Okay, so we're back to the tree. I'm gonna turn on the regular layer again that has everything on it, and I'm gonna throw away this top layer that has the masks and drag it to the trash and start new again with just this one layer where there's no separation of the tree yet. And I want to introduce you to another tool you might find handy and useful, which is under the regular eraser tool. There is the background eraser, which is an alternative technique to making detailed selections, and it allows you to do it destructively, but it's really it's a tool that does it really cleanly. So it's a really cool tool. So I selected the background eraser. It has a little, looks like an eraser with a pair of scissors, because that's what it does. It kind of cuts things out in a nice and neat way. So let me just make my tool size smaller to start off with. So when you have the background eraser selected, you have different options up in the control panel for that tool, for the background eraser. So you can set the size of the eraser here, or you can use the bracket keys like I like to use. And then you have sampling options here. So sampling, just like with the magic wand tool, you're choosing colors to remove. Just like with color range and magic wand, when we're selecting certain colors, we're making those colors into an area of that can be removed, or can be turned into a selection that can be removed. And in this case, we'll be removing them directly with this eraser. So sampling refers to anytime you click with the tool, wherever the plus is on the eraser tool is what is the color that you're sampling. So it will erase colors similar to the colors that you click on. So you could do that continuously. Sampling continuous can be selected, or you could do sample once, so that it limits the color that it will erase to whatever you click on first. And then there's also this option here, sampling background swatch. So you can so if you want to use sample background swatch, then you can take your eyedropper tool and you can choose the color that you want to sample, the color that you want to say, this is the color I want to erase, or I want to base my erasing on. So I click with my eyedropper, and it put that blue that I clicked on as the foreground color, but I could swap it to the background. So now it's the background. So when I go to the eraser tool, then now if I want to use the background swatch as the color that I sample, I would choose this option here, sampling background swatch. Then for your options here, just like with the magic wand tool, we could check contiguous or discontiguous, or in this case they give you another option, find edges. So you can experiment with all of those. For this one, I like discontiguous, because with discontiguous checked, it's going to erase across boundaries very quickly, erase all the little nooks and crannies. So I like discontiguous. Tolerance you can set for the range that it's going to erase based on the color that you sample. And then you can also have protect foreground color checked on, and in that case I would take my eyedropper and choose a color of the tree that I would want to protect. So I'll click to choose a color there. So now it's got a color of the tree in the foreground. So when I go back to my background eraser, having protect, foreground color checked is good because now I have a color from the tree, and that's what I want to protect because I don't want to erase the tree. So we can try with these settings. I have it set to sampling from the background swatch. So let's see what happens if I have, well, let me try contiguous first. And I'm going to make my eraser really big. And then I'm going to be very watchful for where the plus is in the middle of the eraser. Because I don't want to ever have the plus positioned on top of the tree. Because then I could potentially be, especially if I'm in these other options here, like continuous sampling or sampling once, then if I sample the tree, I'm in trouble because it's going to make the tree disappear. So I want to be sure that the plus is only ever on the sky. So I'm going to click here and see how, because I have contiguous on, it's not jumping across boundaries too much. So if I click here, it's going to erase just on one side of the branches. But if I switch to discontiguous, I can do a really big eraser. Let me zoom out, and then I can click right in the blue here, in the sky there, and just one click, and it'll erase all of those areas, and it does a really clean job. See how nice the branches look. It's so detailed. Let me try a different option, like sample once. So wherever I click should be what I'm sampling. So that's doing a good job. Let's see if I do continuously sample. So that would be so that if I like click and drag, it's continuously choosing colors to remove. And you might need to kind of click over things again and again, because see how there's this blue haze here? It's still left some blue back there, blue there. So I might choose, as I get to different colors in the sky, that's probably a good time to switch to continuously sample. There. So it's really clean now. Let's just make sure all that blue haze is gone. And then you zoom in and look at all the details on there. And I could try to go in more and click in more, but it has a little bit of blue on the edges, slightly, not too much. There's a little blue haze here I can click on to remove. Did a great job. So that's destructive. I should have made a backup of the image before I did that. But I didn't. So I could just drag this to my my destination. Drop it in. Oops. Let me just turn this off for a moment. And I'm gonna just name this. This is with background eraser, so we can compare what looks the best in the new destination. So that's with color range. Color range is the current winner, and then this one is with background eraser. Let me just move this down here. You can see there's still this haze here that needs to be cleaned up. So I think color range is still the winner, but it did a good job, and I could still go back and erase more of the haze with my background eraser. Just get rid of all that haziness there and try adding it again. Just get rid of that, and then go back over here and remove this layer, and then drag in the tree. Now it's cleaned up a little more. Yeah, so that looks better. So this is, I'm going to hit Command T. So this is a way to do a destructive edit, but it does a pretty clean job. And I'm going to press return. So it really did a good job getting all those details really nicely. So that's with background eraser, DG eraser, and then compare that with color range. So color range might have removed a little bit more of the branches. Background eraser retains pretty much every single branch, but you do see a little tiny bit of blue on the edges, but there's no way around that with this one. So it's just a preference which one you want to go with these different options for doing these detailed selections. Okay, I have one more image that I want to open up to show you another technique. Let's see, I'll use this image here. So yet another technique for making detailed selections is using the channels. We haven't really talked much about channels. We talked about layers. Oh, we didn't even talk about paths yet. We have to get to that. So channels, you can by default, usually the channels panel is tabbed with the layers, and so are the paths. But let me get to channels. So the channels of an RGB image, which these are made up of different levels of red, green, and blue that all combine together to create the millions of colors that you're seeing. So you can, from the channels panel, you can isolate just to look at just the red, for example. By clicking on the red channel, it's showing a representation in black and white, showing whatever is lit up lighter has more red pixels, and whatever's darker has less red pixels. So that's the black and white depiction there, just showing the amounts of red pixels in the image. I could do the same with green and see whatever's lit up, the lighter colors have more green pixels, the darker colors have less. Same thing with blue, the lighter colors have more blue, the darker colors have less. So if you want to use channels to make a selection, you can. You start with the channel that gives you the most contrast from your subject. So the most differentiation. So can you guys tell which one would have the most contrast, the red, green, or the blue? Mm-hmm. Blue, that's right. Because the blue has a much brighter background distinguished from the branches and the tree. So what you would do is you would duplicate that channel, which you can do by dragging to the new channel button at the bottom, or you can go to the option here and then duplicate channel from the options menu there. And then you have a copy, and you can, let's see if I, wait, is that the right thing? Okay, so now I want to just be on the blue copy, and then I want to crank that up in, you can actually edit the levels of the channel copy. So while I'm highlighted on the blue copy, then I can go to image adjustments and levels and increase the contrast even more by adjusting my input levels sliders. So I just adjusting the sliders to make even more of a distinction between the foreground or the subject and the background, so that the background is very white and the subject, which is the tree, is very purely black. And then I can say okay there. And then I can use that to make a selection. And I can load the selection the same way I do for in the layers panel, by hovering over the channel thumbnail, holding command and clicking on this channel. So now I've loaded a selection, and I believe I can throw away the copy now. It was just used to crank up the contrast. I can throw that in the trash. And now all the channels turn on again, so I'm looking at the full image. I can go back to layers, and I still have that selection made. So then I can go into select and mask. Go select and mask. And oh, but I forgot to inverse it because it's making the tree transparent instead of the sky transparent. So let me get out of that and inverse. Select, inverse, shift command I. So now it's selecting the tree and leaving the sky behind. So then when I go to select and I go to inverse, shift command I, even better. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm a little tired tonight. Okay, so I want to be selecting the tree. Let's see if I got that right. Now I go to select and then select and mask. There, so now it's selecting the tree because I inverse selected it. It was selecting the sky, now it's selecting the tree, and it did a really good job. You can see looking at it on the onion skin view, with the transparency cranked all the way up on the background. You can adjust that to see. Did a fine job of getting all those details. And then I can output to the selection, or I could output to any of these options. If I want to have a mask attached to the image, I could just, this time I'll just output to the selection. I want to show you another way to add a layer mask, which is detailed in the handout, where you can go to layer mask, reveal selection. That's one way from the menu bar. So you can go layer mask, reveal selection will do it. So now it's added a mask to this layer. But I want to undo that, Command Z, and show you another way to do it. I like using the button at the bottom of the layers panel to do it too. So at the bottom of the layers panel, when you have a marching ant selection on a layer, you can always turn it into a layer mask by clicking on the little mask icon here. And that just automatically adds a layer mask that then I can edit the layer mask. So that's a technique there. But I want to show you a few more tools in a quick demo to get you looking at some other imagery, because we've been spending a lot of time looking at old dead trees. So let me open up some fresh new imagery. So I'm going to say that this is pretty much done, and I guess color range is the winner on this. So this could be what I turn in. So I'm going to save that. And this is a Project 3 possibility to turn in. But I'm going to do one more quick demo with some things. This one I'll just close and not save. This one I'll close and not save. And I want to close this one, and I want to open up some new images to show you some more techniques. So I'm going to go File, Open, and I have some few images to put together. This tiger here, this dancer, and I'm going to put them on a stage. Let's see, not this one. Where is it? where's that stage? Okay, these 3 images I'm gonna put together. Open. So, okay, so I've got this place. This is my environment, and I've got a tiger, and I've got the dancer. But I want to show you another type of mask, which is called the vector mask. So there's layer masks we've been working with. Layer masks you edit the shape of with the paintbrush or the eraser tool, because the layer masks are pixel based masks, but they're also vector based masks. So how do you use vector based masks? Well, there's just when you thought you'd never see the pen tool again, it's here in Photoshop. So the pen tool is here. So you can use the pen tool to create paths and use them to create masks. You can also turn marching ants into a path. So this is a Photoshop file that I have a selection already made that I saved. So I can go to select and I can load selection, and I named this selection tiger selection. So I can just choose the tiger selection and okay there. So I loaded the marching ants. If you go into the paths panel, at any time you have a marching ant selection, you can convert it to a path. If you like editing paths, you can alter your selection by editing the path. So at the bottom of the paths panel, there's a button that looks like a vector circle, a circle made of anchor points and line segments. You can click on that little vector symbol, and it turns the marching ant selection into a path with anchor points. And then you can use the direct selection tool is here. It's right under the pen tool. You'll find the path selection tool, just like the selection tool in Illustrator, and the white arrow, the direct selection tool that lets you select individual points. So if I wanted to make an adjustment on the selection, this could be a way to do it by moving the points. And then you can go back to, after you make alterations, then you can go back and load the marching ants again. And it made changes. But actually, let me go back to, I'm going to hit Command D to deselect the marching ants. It works better if you click outside to deselect the path, so it doesn't have display the anchor points. And then you can, from the path, which then gets listed as a work path in the paths panel, then you can load the marching ants again. So let's see that again. If I switch the marching ants to a path, I can click this button at the bottom of the paths panel, and then let's say I wanted to really alter it so you see a big difference. So I drag this out like that, this point all the way up here, click outside to deselect, and then load marching ants again. See how I altered the shape? And then I go back to path, and then I go in and fix that. So I click on the point, drag the points down. So this is if you enjoy working with paths more than marching ants, this could be a way to work, although I think the tools in Photoshop that are designed for creating marching ants are a lot better for making selections than using the pen tool and using the vector tools here. So then I click outside to deselect, and then load marching ants button again. It's a little circle that looks like marching ants. The bottom of the paths panel. Now I've fixed that edge. But I'm gonna just hit Command D and deselect. For using, if you were gonna use the pen tool, I wouldn't use it really to shape around the edges necessarily of a photo, but I would probably make some other shape for design purposes. Like, this looks like an angry tiger. Maybe he needs some love. So I could take the pen tool and I can draw a heart or something. So with the pen tool, I could draw a shape, but when I'm on my pen tool, I need to make sure if I want to do this as a selection to make a mask, because that's what I want to do, I need to switch my options for the pen tool from shape to path. Later on, we're going to talk about making shape layers with vector tools in Photoshop, but we're not going to do that yet for this project. So I'm switching away from shape. That's making vectors in Photoshop using shapes, but I don't want to make vector art. I just want to make a path to cut out the photo. So I'm choosing path, and then I can draw with the pen tool. So I'm just gonna, I also want to check what my mode is set to. So here's it's on combine shapes. You got different modes here, subtract or combine. Combine should be good for this so that what would be inside of the path would reveal the tiger. So I'm going to start with a click drag for a curve, click drag for another curve, do a click drag, and then I'll hold Option to make a corner between curves. So I drag the handle up, click and drag, click and drag. It's not going to be a symmetric heart, but that's okay. And then I'm just going to click to close my shape. And now I have this vector heart that's now listed in the Paths panel as a work path. And then when I go to my layers, I could go up to layer, and then I could hover over vector mask and choose current path. And then it adds a vector mask into my shape. Then I can use the direct selection tool and continue to select the points and drag on the handles and make edits. But another way to do that, let's see if I throw away the vector mask here by dragging it to the trash. See how, by the way, see how the vector mask looks different than the layer mask? It's always going to be gray with whatever's revealing looking white with a black outline. Just take note of that's the icon for the vector mask. Say okay. Delete it. I deleted the vector mask. Let's see if I go back to paths. I can still, from the paths panel, access my work path and select it and use my direct selection tool and select on the points. Go back to my layers. And another way to add a vector mask to a layer, once you draw out a path, is to click on your mask button at the bottom of the layers panel. But notice when I hover over it, it says add layer mask. So it's defaulted to add a layer mask. So if I click now, it'll just add a big plain mask there that's a layer mask that I can only edit with the paintbrush or the eraser. So I'd have to edit it by option clicking, and then I could paint on it with, like if I scribble into it with black, like this, then I'm editing that way. If I use a shade of gray, then I'm adding transparency to it, and the white would be revealing. And then when I option click again, this is what I did on the vector mask. And now the vector mask is selected, so I could paint the white into it. And now I'm editing this is not the vector mask, this is the layer mask. So this is a layer mask. So I don't want a layer mask for this at this time, so I'm going to throw that in the trash and delete the layer mask. what I want is a vector mask this time. So I can add a vector mask by, if I hold Command and hover over the Add Mask button, there. So when I hold Command, it says Add Vector Mask now when I hover over the Add Mask button. So I click that. Now it's using my path. And then I can alter that. Okay. But that was just for fun. I don't think I want to do anything with this angry tiger in a heart. So I'm just going to throw out the vector mask just to show you another way that you can cut out an image in a shape. You could try that. I'm going to delete vector mask. Okay, let's delete the vector mask. Okay, and then this time I'm going to decide, okay, I want this tiger to be in this show with this, on this stage with this dancer, and that's my idea for this project. So I'm going to load my selection. So I can go to select, load selection, and I'll choose the tiger selection and say OK. And then I want to check the selection in select and mask, so I could be on any of the selection tools like the quick select, and then choose select and mask. And then I want to check how the tiger looks on black, because my destination is going to be a dark place, a dark stage, dark colored background. So now on black, I can really see that the fur on the tiger on the edges looks terrible, right? So going into select and mask is a great place to fix wisps of hair or fur with the tool here that's called Refine Edge Brush. So I can select the Refine Edge Brush and I can just draw over the fur in the direction of the fur, and it really does wonders in bringing out the details on the fur and making it look more natural. So keep that in mind when you're selecting on something like an animal with fur or a person with wisps of hair. This tool here, Refine Edge Brush tool, is going to be really helpful to painting and making the edges look more natural. You don't have to do it in the direction all the time. You could just draw right over it. If it creates weird artifacts like this, you can minus. I can hold Option and minus over the edges that don't look too good. But it's just doing a beautiful job of fixing things up. I can just draw right over the edges very quickly too, like this. And of course you can change the size of your brush with your bracket keys. If your brush is too big though, it's gonna bring in some strange stuff from the background, so I'm going to hold Option and draw over that. So make your brush kind of small, and then you can kind of draw along the edges and bring out those fine details in fur and wisps of hair. And where I have the grass showing, that's probably a job for maybe quick select. I can hold Option and remove. Oh, that went too far. Quick select sometimes goes too far. So then in that case, I can use the brush tool and do things more manually by holding Option to subtract. And I could also change the softness of the brush, bring down the hardness to have a softer edge, and just, oops, I'm adding to selection. I can hold Option to get that minus, to subtract from selection, to clean things up. And then you always have the option to output destructively or non-destructively, if you want to use a mask or not. Oops, I'm going to go back to refine edge and subtract some of this. Let's see. Why isn't this going away? Let's see if I use quick select and hold option, and there, that looks better. Okay, so he's looking much better. So I can output to selection, or I could use output with a layer mask. Any of those will work. I guess I'll just output to selection and click OK. And I can always add a layer mask if I wanted to, by clicking on the add layer mask button. And it uses the marching ants. So then I can edit the layer mask to continue my editing process with my paintbrush. Now the layer mask is what I'm editing instead of doing anything destructively. So I can add, or let me make this the background black, so that I can press X and then subtract. Then when I'm happy, I can delete the layer mask, drag it to the trash, and then that'll be apply mask. Actually, I'm not gonna delete, right? I'm gonna apply, and that's gonna be the destructive edit. So now it's edited, it's destructive. It deleted all those pixels. And then I can actually clone in parts of his feet that are missing. So I can use the clone stamp tool, hold option, click, and then add like some of the white fur here to make it look more natural, or hide some of the grass by option clicking to target some fur here, and then draw in some fur on top of some of the grass if I want to get really detailed and clean about this. But I'm not gonna spend too much time doing that, so I'm gonna just drag him to the destination. And it's probably a better idea to drag your layer to the destination and then remove the mask if you have a mask, so that you're sure that he looks good in the destination. So I kind of got a little too hasty there, but I'm gonna just drag him into my destination. Let's see, where is it? Here it is, this stage image, and put him there. All right, he's there. Looking good. And then I've got this dancer. So let's see how well select subject works on her. I'm on my quick select tool. I'm just going to click select subject. Does a fine job. And then I want to zoom in here and just make sure that her fingers are selected properly, so I can use my quick select and add a little to her finger there, hold option and subtract a little there, add a little, subtract a little to just get it just right, add a little to edit there, and then I can put her in, but she has some lace here. So to make the lace actually transparent, there are some techniques for that we can talk about for a moment. But I'm gonna just drag her into the destination. Actually, there's a little part here that I could subtract from with this tool here. If I hold the quick select, I can hold option and take out that little part there in her hand there, and then I can take my move tool and drag her into the destination, drop her in. Oh, there's a mismatch in colors, so she's going to be converted. That's fine. I'm going to zoom out, and then I'm going to hit Command T and then scale her down. but I'm gonna press return. But you can see that the lace, it's supposed to be lace, but it's not transparent. So how do we make it transparent? So I'm gonna go back to our image. So there are a few ways. Does anyone have any ideas how we might make the lace transparent? No? Okay. So here's one way. Oh, we've got an idea here in chat. No idea. Okay, let's look at a way to make the lace transparent. So one way is that I'm going to go ahead and add the layer mask. So I'm going to click on the mask button, and it's going to make a mask based on the marching ants and attach it to the layer. So I clicked on that mask button there in the layer panel. And then what I can do to do this in a clean way is I can then take my quick select, and then I can select just the area inside of the lace that I want to make transparent. And I went a little bit outside here the lines. If I want to, I can remove this part so that this part doesn't get transparent. Make my tool a little smaller and option click, option click, option click, just to have a selection. So now it's a selection on top of a mask. So just so that I have this selection here. Just trying to protect this part of the lace so it doesn't get too transparent. Okay, so now I've got this area selected and I have the mask selected. So then instead of painting with black, because black will make it completely transparent, I can paint with a shade of gray. So then I take my paintbrush and then I'm just going to paint over this area with the shade of gray, but that probably took out too much, so I'm going to undo that. Command Z. So I need to make my shade of gray very, very light. So I'm going to go back and make it even lighter, almost white, and then paint. Oops, it took out too much on the bottom. Let me undo that. So let me just go back to my quick select and add a little bit more. Wait. No, I mean subtract a little bit with the option there so that that doesn't take that out down there. Okay, and then I take my paintbrush and I'm painting with a shade of gray here so that you can still see some of the subtleties, folds in the lace. And then if we look at what that did here to the mask, I'm going to full screen it by option clicking. Then I'm going to hit Command D to deselect. See, it's a very subtle shade of gray to make that transparent. There. Then I'm going to go option click the mask again, and now I'm going to drag her with my move tool into my destination and onto the stage and say okay. And so now, does that look transparent? Hey, look, we can see the tiger through. Can you see it? And then this other one, I'm gonna remove because I like the new one. So I'm gonna delete this lady here. Yes. And I'm gonna scale this layer back down. I'll call this dancer and hit Command. Let's see. Command T. Let me zoom out here. Scale her down. And when I have her the right size. Let me zoom in. Then I'll just press maybe a little smaller, and I'll press return to apply that. And so now, let's see, you can see the tiger through, right? See that tiger through the lace. And you could do this more destructively with, let's see. Well, let me make this, let me just remove the, I'm going to remove the mask now. So I'm going to drag the mask to the trash and apply it. So another way to make something transparent might be if I was in quick mask mode. With, wait a minute. That would be if I was back here in this. Let me just remove the mask. Apply. Oops, I didn't mean to apply. Let me do that again. Remove the mask, and this time I'll delete. Remove the mask and come on. And delete. And then if I wait, before I do that though, let me load the selection. So I'm gonna I can see you can load the selection when you have a mask on by going to select, load selection, and then I can choose layer mask and say OK. And then I can remove the layer mask and delete it. And then I can go to quick mask mode. So then everything that's showing under the red is transparent. And so I can edit in quick mask mode also by, in a destructive way, by taking the paintbrush and then painting with the on top of this area. Let's see, why isn't it? Oh, but it's painting white, so I need to paint with black. So switch to black on top, and I'm making this area transparent. But if I don't want it to take it out completely, instead of painting with full opacity, I could paint with opacity down instead. So let me just go back to white. Here, I'll just go back to 100%. Bring this back, and then I could swap to the black, and then bring down the opacity on the brush, and then just paint with just a level of transparency here. Then bring up the opacity if I wanted to, and I could adjust the hardness on the brush up, and then I can edit this edge here and draw in with the paint there to fix that edge that got taken out. And then let's see what this looks like. This is a more destructive way to go. Then I can go back to standard mode, and then let's see what this will look like if I drag her in now to the stage. Drop her in, and yeah, and the lace is also transparent. So two different ways to do that, create transparent fabric. Command T, and then I can scale this down. So which is the winner? Not sure. I'm gonna just go with the one that I already have though. Okay, so I wanted to do some more to this, but you probably got enough. But I was thinking of hitting Command T and right clicking and flipping the dancer horizontally to interact with the tiger, and I can duplicate the dancer and make a reflection. So I could drag her to the new layer button, and then on dancer copy I can go to edit and transform and distort and drag the copy down like a reflection. And then press return to apply that, and that will go under. That's the reflection. And choose the dancer, have her standing somewhere. Let's see, let's go to auto select so I can move the layers around. Okay, so that is there, and this is here, and I could adjust the blending mode on the reflection to blend in with the floor. Maybe soft light, and then the tiger could have a reflection too. Or not. Well, yeah, he needs a reflection. So tiger, can duplicate tiger, duplicate layer, okay, and drag him underneath, and this will be the reflection. So I'll go edit, transform, and distort, and drag him from the top down to make a reflection, and kind of adjust him so that he looks like he's on the floor. Maybe a little bit of rotation with let's see, put him like that, and a little rotation maybe. Edit, transform, and I can switch to rotate. I'll just apply that for now, and maybe a little more rotation with Command T. A little rotation there. And adjusting, and then return, and then I'll make that. I'll put a blending mode on that, like could be linear burn, color burn maybe, and then if I want them to appear as if they are on this screen, I just want to wrap up with one more thing. I can select all of these layers here from the top down and duplicate all of them. I'm going to duplicate layers, and it's just going to duplicate everything, and then I can flatten this duplication to merge the layers, and then so now this is a duplicate of all the layers below flattened. So this is what I want to show on the screen. So I'm going to select this. So I can go to select all, copy it, Command C to copy, and then I'll just turn this layer off, and Command D to deselect, and then I'm going to make a selection on the above the background layer using a tool I haven't shown yet, which is the polygon lasso tool, which lets you create straight lines and polygon shapes. So you do that by clicking in the corners, similar to what I was doing with in the vanishing point filter. I'm just clicking in the corners, click, 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 and close my shape. You'll see the circle appear, and oh, it's a little off, but oh well. And then, well, I can move it a little bit to adjust it. There we go. So then I have my marching ants in the shape of the screen, and then I've already copied everything that I flattened out, and I'm going to paste it into my marching ants by going to Edit, and then hover over paste special, and I'm going to try paste into. So paste into creates a separate layer with a mask, and and then I have the image that is revealing in the mask selected, so I can hit Command T and I can scale that down, and you see that the image here, that's the flattened image that I copied, and now I can have it showing like something on the screen, or I could rotate that a little bit so that this looks like when you're at a concert and something is showing on the screen. Maybe just the tiger is there. And then I'll just press return. And then to make that look more believable, I can use my eraser tool, bring down the opacity, choose a soft brush, make it bigger, and let's bring down the opacity a lot. And then I can kind of erase in the screen. Alright, so then I can save this and save it as last name first initial Proj3. Dash Proj3 for short. This is my alternate one though. And then I'll put it on my folder for the class. And I'll save it there, and then okay, and then all you have to do is turn something in to our assignment. So you go assignments and Proj3, and then I can click start assignment, upload your file, make sure you turn in a Photoshop file that shows your layers, choose file, and then I can choose my Proj3 from my teaching, my last name first initial Proj3. So I demonstrated 2 different ones. You only need to do one assignment. So there's this one and there's this one. I think I like this one better, so I'm gonna put that one in and submit assignment, and you get it in on time, you get the confetti party. Alright, thanks everyone. Thanks for hanging in there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a great week.
Thank you too. Have a great night, Map.